Big win last night for Bill Carmody. He is the second winningest coach in Northwestern history, and he joins the program now. Bill, let's just look at the last 2 weeks with your program. You're able to lose by 20 at home to Iowa. You're also able to win twice against ranked teams. What's the biggest reason for that?
I think we're trying to figure out how we're going to play and how we're going to win games, and it's taken me a little longer to figure it out since Drew Crawford went down, but I think the guys are starting to get a hang of it, and we can't go up and down the court like we have in the last few years, and when you had Sherna out there and Crawford, but we have a good bunch of guys. They're working hard, and I think they're starting to figure out how we have to play if we're going to win games.
You mentioned Drew Crawford. You've gone now about half a season without him. How has that changed the dynamic of this team?
Well, we have this guy, Jared Swapshire, who's a transfer from Louisville. And, he was more of a role player down there, although significant. He played on a Final Four team. And now I want him to be more important in our offense. And just we've been trying to get him to be more aggressive all year and take some of the load off Drew. And now, without Drew, he's he can't go a game where he's getting 5 or 6 shots. He's got to get 10 or 12 shots. And then some of the other guys that are freshmen or redshirt freshmen are, starting to figure it out a little bit, their roles. So your question before about how 2 weeks ago can we lose so badly at Iowa and then win tonight? Well, it's a long season, and you try to get better all the time and keep coaching guys. And, some nights it looks pretty good, and other nights you might, fall flat. But it's a long season. You just keep going at it.
You mentioned Swapshire. There are some times when he'll have 2 or 5 points, and then there's last night when he has 16. What's the difference that separates him having a great night versus a not-so-good one?
Yeah, like a lot of guys, I think if he gets off to a good start, that helps him. So we've been calling a few plays, to sort of get him off a little bit. That gives him an opportunity that he knows that this is his time to do something, so there's not that many decisions in there. But I think overall he's just adjusting to his role, and he's doing it at the right time in conference play.
Fill in the blank here. The player on this roster that has surprised me the most thus far is...
Well, I guess Reggie Hearn, you have to say that. I mean, he's just gotten better each year, and it's not really a surprise to me, but it just makes me feel really good because he's worked very hard. Here's a kid who was, played with his back to the basket in high school, and he's playing guard now, and he never shot 3-point shots, and now he's a very good 3-point shooter. He and Swap guard are the opponent's best players, and so he's just as a coach, you just love to see development in somebody, and Reggie's really grown.
What goes on in your mind, Bill, when you decide, all right, we're switching to zone, or all right, we're switching to man on defense?
I just listen to my assistants. Actually, it's that. Listen to your staff a little bit, and just a gut feeling that, hey, either we're not stopping them or we just need a change. Let's see what happens. How are they going to handle it? And it might be worth giving up a basket even just to see how a team might attack the change. And the 1-3-1 for us has, generates offense oftentimes, and that's really helpful. But, going back and forth, I don't normally like to do that much. If I go to something, I usually stick with it. And last night we went to 1-3-1, and fortunately, it was effective for us.
We're talking a little later on in our show the perception about Big Ten being a low-scoring conference. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that almost all conferences are, the point totals drop once conference play starts, just because, you're scouting the teams more thoroughly, and, so we've played Minnesota like 10 times in the last year and a half, it seems like. I mean, they know us inside out, we know them inside out, and so you're just more prepared for the different teams and what their pet plays are, and who goes left, who goes right. You have to be, the scouting reports are just so much better. And that's not just our conference, it's all the conferences. I think scoring, if it doesn't plummet, it certainly drops dramatically.
What would you say is the perception of the Big Ten compared to other conferences in terms of scoring?
Well, I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, are we a low-scoring conference? I don't even know, to tell you the truth. I just know that, you know, last year we were in the 70s. The last couple of years we're in the mid-70s and all. And I know Minnesota is, you know, pretty high up there. And so the perception, I don't know. I think we're trying to win games, and we have teams that play a little more slowly, a little more deliberately than other teams. But then you have teams that run up and down, and you know, just explosive. So I don't know if you can categorize a league, you know, with 12 teams as you know, one thing or the other. You know, there are different types of styles in every conference, and that's certainly true in the Big Ten.
Our perspective from afar is different from yours so close, but you've heard the talk about how this is the year the Big Ten is as good as it's ever been. You've been a head coach in the league for nearly a decade and a half now. How good is the Big Ten now that you've played almost half of your conference schedule?
Yeah, well, I think that, you know, each year coaches like to say, well, this is, you know, we're the best conference, or we're right up there. And but this year, I mean, our argument has to be pretty strong. We have some, you know, 5 top, you know, 20 teams or so, and you know, we're not in the top half of the conference right now, and yet we beat the 12th ranked team in the country, and a week ago we beat the 23rd ranked team in the country. So you know how they say any night any team can beat another team, but in this year it seems to me to be, you know, pretty accurate description. I think it's a really strong league, and I wouldn't compare it to other years especially, but I think that we're, you know, certainly potent this year.
Northwestern head coach Bill Carmody, congrats on the win. Thanks for the time.
All right, Mike, thank you.